All right, we have one more video left of this 8-2.3, and we're focusing now on the practice problems like example, and it doesn't say it, but it should say example 2. So with this, we're applying that idea of if you have a negative exponent, it's going to, if it's in the numerator to begin with, then you're going to flop it to the denominator and change the exponent to a positive. If it's a negative exponent in the denominator, you're going to push it to the numerator or the top and change it to a positive. So looking at these examples, recall that if it is, what are you doing? Don't connect me to help. I don't want help. 13 is a whole number. If you wanted to think of it as a fraction, you could think of it as 13 over 1. Now what this does, when you have it to a negative, like the -2 for your power, what's going to happen is this is going to flip your fraction. So I've got 1 on top, 13 on the bottom. So the 13 has moved to the denominator now, and then it was a -2 for our exponent. When we move it to the bottom, it becomes a +2. So this, I would leave it just like this. If you wanted to, you could use your calculator and plug 13 to the negative second power, and you get this, but that really doesn't mean much to us. But that's a little bit better. So 1 over 169. So just so that you're aware, if you were to take 13 and square it, you'd have a positive 169, and then with the negative exponent, it's 1 over 169. So again, you're just putting the 1, moving it to the bottom, and squaring it. All right, the next one. We've got a C, we've got a D, and a G, and they're raised to some different powers. So I am going to focus first. I've got the C, the D, and the G. So focusing in on the yellow with the C to the -5th power. It is starting on the top. Our goal is to move it to the bottom. So when we move it, nothing's left on top, so we have to put a 1. So we've got the C, and we're changing it to the 5th power. So this is what's in yellow. Now I'm going to focus on my D to the 3rd. That is a positive exponent. We don't have to do anything to it. So D to the 3rd, it stays as is. I've got the 1 on top. So that was this. And then for the last one, the green one, we've got this G to the -8th. We don't want a negative exponent, so we're going to push the G to the top and turn the exponent positive. And then a 1 on the bottom. Okay, from here, so this, all of this equals this. From here, we have to do a little bit of simplifying because we don't need all of these 1s and the 1 in the denominator. So we want 1 times G to the 8th is going to give us G to the 8th. And on the bottom, C to the 5th times D to the 3rd times 1 is just C to the 5th, D to the 3rd. Here is our answer in simplest form. And I should have done that with this one. Okay. Whoo! All right. C gets kind of complicated. So we have, we don't have everything all in one set of parentheses, so we can't just simplify top to bottom. What we're going to have to do is we've got parentheses up here. We're going to have to distribute those exponents. So we're going to have C to the 3rd, and we're raising this to the 3rd, and then we'll have to do the same on the bottom. So we'll have to distribute the negative exponent. So this is nuts. It is crazy. But here I'll start. So I've got C to the 3rd power. C to the 3rd power. Then I've got D to the -2 raised to the 3rd. So when you raise a power to a power, you need to multiply the exponent. So we keep the base and then multiply the exponents. -2 times 3 is -6. All right. So we've got the top ready to go. So on the bottom, we've got C to the 4th, and now we're going to raise it to the -2. So we keep our base, and then we've got 4 times -2 is -8. And then finally, d to the 9th raised to the negative 2. Keep the power, or keep the base of d. 9 times negative 2 is negative 18. Okay, whew, this is where things are going to get super weird. So we've got a c to the 3rd and a c to the negative 8. And then we've also got a d to the negative 6th and a d to the negative 18. This is wild, but we're going to make it work. So when you are dividing and you have powers that are have the same bases, so in this case a c and a c, the rule is to subtract your exponents. So this is, I'm going to take my calculator out because otherwise I feel like some of you won't believe what the answer is. But we want to do 3 and subtract out a negative 8. Now when you have a minus a negative like this, it actually turns into a plus, and that's why our exponent becomes 11. So we've got c to the 11th power, which is a good thing. It's positive. We're in good shape. The next thing that we're going to do here is we've got d to the negative 6th, d to the negative 18th. So for this, we're going to do negative 6 minus negative 18. Go, and we get 12. So d to the 12th. So it's interesting for this. We actually didn't have to use our rule of negative exponents. We just, we didn't let it scare us. We just had to make sure that we used our quotient rule and then subtracted our exponents. So this is in simplest form. Okay, last one that we have here, we've got y to the 0 times y to the 5th times y to the negative 9th. Now hopefully as you're looking at this, you see this y to the 0 and you're like, oh, that's just 1. Now, when you take 1 and multiply it by anything, it's just going to end up being what you multiply it by. So this is actually, like, there's nothing there. That disappears because 1 times anything is just itself. So now we're looking at this. We've got y to the 5th times y to the negative 9th. So if you remember, our rule for this is we keep the base, and then we need to end up adding these exponents. So using my calculator, I've got 5 plus a negative 9. So this comes out to be negative 4. But we can't have an answer with a negative exponent in it. So what's going to happen is we have to think about this being a fraction. And then because the y to the negative 4th is in the numerator of this, we're going to send it down to the bottom, make the exponent positive, and then we put a 1 on top just to hold the place. So this is our answer for part D. I hope these make sense. Tomorrow we'll go over the assignment problems together. Exciting stuff. All right, thanks guys.